Hello, and thank you for joining us for Coffee Conversations. We have some very special guests with us today. We have Miss Christy Newitt, who is our counselor coordinator for Cumberland County Schools. And we have with us three of our class of 2021 seniors joining us today. And we are so glad to have you all with us, as we know you are on the countdown to the major day of walking across the stage. We want to celebrate you and give you an opportunity to share some information about yourselves. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll start with you, Raina, and then Kira, and then Cedric. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what school you're from, and if you've been in Cumberland County Schools your whole K-12 career? And I call it a career because kindergarten through 12th grade is a long time. Right. Or have you transferred in from other places? Just give us a little information about you.
Well, I'm 18 and I come from a family of 4. My dad was in the military for 20 years, and we did move back here to Fayetteville when I was in the 1st grade. So I've been in Cumberland County since the 1st grade to now. I come from Cross Creek Early College. And that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Raina. Kira, what about you?
Hi, my name is Kira. I will be graduating from Grace Creek High School. I'm from a military family. My dad served 30 years, and luckily I've been able to stay in Cumberland County my entire school career.
Excellent.
I'm Cedric. My father and my grandfather are actually in the military, so they kind of got stationed here at the same time, coincidentally. So I've been here since kindergarten. I'm from Maxfield Classical High School, and just thanks for having me on here.
Thanks. So we're so glad to have you all with your diverse backgrounds. Some of our our military students, definitely very important piece to our Cumberland County Schools puzzle. So what have you learned about yourself while finishing up your senior year in a global pandemic? You are a class very unique, unlike any other, as you spent most of your year virtual. So your experience is very different. So Cedric, let's start with you. Can you tell us what you've learned about yourself this year?
I think one of the things that I've learned about myself particularly is just kind of how to keep busy and how to find motivation to do things. And a lot of that just comes from knowing how to kind of pace yourself with your work and stuff like that. Not trying to get everything done all at the same time, and kind of just knowing that it's okay to take a break from time to time, especially with how turbulent things are right now, just knowing that it's okay to kind of take a breather.
You are exactly right. Taking a breather is key. Kira, what about you? What have you learned this year, your senior year?
I have learned the balance of mind and body. While I'm focused on academics, sports, and clubs, I've been very busy in high school. I've also learned that I need to take time for myself and to be able to have balance in my life. I started doing yoga and meditation daily to stay physically active and also promote mental well-being.
Cool. Raina, what about you? What have you learned in your senior year?
Generally, I'm a very independent person. Overall, I I don't like to ask for help, and I like to do things by myself. But because of like all the challenges and stuff with being virtual and still trying to stay busy, you have to reach out to other people. I really learned to ask for help and let that guard down and say, look, you don't have to take on everything by yourself. It's okay to have other people around you support you. So I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned this year.
You all three have mentioned some very valuable lessons that you've learned as seniors in high school, and a lot of adults have learned too, as we navigate how to work during a global pandemic. So some of the things you had the opportunity to learn early, as older adults are learning how to manage balance and ask for help and all of that too at the same time. So how do you think Cumberland County Schools has prepared you? For the most part, you spent most of your K-12 experience in Cumberland County Schools. So how do you think that has prepared you for your future? Kira, I'm going to start with you this time.
Okay, I think that Cumberland County Schools has a ton of opportunities for their students. You just have to like get involved. I was involved in the National Honor Society, the Superintendent Student Voices Council with Miss Christie, Academy of Scholars. I was a cheerleader all 4 years of high school, and I took a ton of AP classes. I was also involved in like my music and theater programs, and all of these clubs taught me something different. I learned leadership, sportsmanship, academic growth, and I was able to volunteer in my community. I think it's just really important to get involved with your school and in your community.
Keith, Cedric, what about you? What do you think how do you think Cumberland County Schools has prepared you for your future?
Well, first off, like I think it's no secret that, you know, compared to other cities, Fayetteville may not be as well off as like other places, but I think that like with what our county has provided our students, they've certainly taught us how to be resourceful and how to get involved and seek out those opportunities that help us further our positions and our careers and stuff like that. And I think that's really key, is just learning how to work with what you have, because you're not always going to have everything at your fingertips. And that's just something that I value a lot.
Okay. Okay. And Raina, we talked earlier, Raina said she had to get ready to go to work after this. So Raina has done some things during this pandemic. How has Cumberland County Schools prepared you for your future?
I think that the most it has prepared me for was to give back, honestly. My school requires that you have 200 volunteer hours before you graduate. And kind of like how Cedric said, the county isn't the most well off. So if you have the opportunity or chance to give back and as well as manage everything else, then you're really prepared for adulthood when you have to do those things on your own, because there's no one coaching you. There's no one telling you like, hey, you have to do this. You're doing it all on your own, and you're managing those things simultaneously.
Great. So I'm going to continue with you, Raina. I know that you all are counting down to that day you cross the stage, but what are your plans? What are you planning to do after you graduate? Raina, let's start with you. What are your post-graduation plans?
After graduation, I'll be attending North Carolina's A&T. I'll be majoring in psychology and minoring in social work. So I'm excited about that. And my overall goal is to become a clinical psychologist. So.
Excellent, excellent. Kira, what's your post-graduation plans?
I've been accepted into NC State University. I'm going to be a biology major, and I would like to go to grad school to become an optometrist. Go Wolfpack.
Great, Kira. And Cedric, what about you? What are your post-graduation plans?
Right. So I'm going to be attending the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And I'm probably going to be majoring in public policy, but my overall goal is to go into civil rights law as a lawyer and basically kind of get involved in the civil rights movement and furthering the positions of African Americans in our society.
Definitely. So thank you so much. You all have great plans, and we look forward to hearing you come back and tell us how everything is going once you experience your post-graduation experiences. So Ms. Newitt, you introduced me to these great students who are part of Student Voices, but can you tell me a little bit about, as your role as the counseling coordinator, some of the things that we will see from this graduating class as they get ready to cross the stage?
Sure. So I first want to just point out that these three are the epitome of resilience. And just taking advantage of all the opportunities, but also being able to see the big picture. One of the reasons they were selected to do Student Voices with Dr. Connolly was that they would have the ability to speak for not just themselves, but all of their peers from the K-12 level, that they can see the perspective from not just what they've had, but from their friends and their peers. And that is what I truly enjoy about all three of them. I gave Cedric a different speaking assignment earlier in the year that kind of focused on that equity, because he just speaks so well. And it's just, I love talking to him about those things because he's just so passionate about it. And he did excellent for that too. So I love to hear that that's where he's going to be, what he's going to be pursuing, because I think it's just right up his alley, and I love it. And Kira was my quiet introvert that has slowly grown more and more as a leader. So I love to just see how much she's blossomed. And Raina has just always been the one since junior year that's jumped in and done the things and spoken and voiced her opinion. And so I'm happy to hear that she's kind of been that leader and been that support for the group. So it kind of, all three of them very much fit kind of what they've described. But I think they also are a nice picture kind of what the class of 2021 is. I think, this is a class that starting their junior year just kind of had to deal with what they had to deal with. And, and they didn't really complain. They just kind of, took it in stride and did the best they could. And, I think they've all had their ups and downs, just like we have as adults, as they had to go through the waves of what 2020 and 2021 brought us, from a broad spectrum, from social issues that were going on with COVID and all of that. So, and then on top of that, now their senior year was majority virtual. But the things that we saw was, okay, with that extra time or being at home, a lot more of them actually took the time to explore scholarship opportunities. And I think they took more time in thinking about where they really wanted to apply for school. We may have a few more that are undecided right now, but I think that's because they actually took the time to really think about what they wanted and didn't just apply just to apply. I think a lot really learned what they need as a learner. Am I good with online? Do I need more face-to-face? What do I want out of school? So I think hopefully that's helped set them up for really choosing the right career path. We've have our usuals we've had several military appointments. I know we have some athletes that are going on to the next level and playing that way. We'll have all those final kind of scholarship numbers, hopefully by the end of June. Sorry about that. Hopefully by the end of June, when that final scholarship report will come out that we like to post. But I would say for me, the biggest thing is just seeing how they never really let it all fall apart. They may have had moments, but I think they all kind of dug in and said, you know what, this is my senior year and I'm not gonna fail. And I think they also used their voice really well. They advocated for things they wanted, which allowed them, to have some sort of senior activity. I know the schools are in the process of having, senior picnic or field day or, dance night or whatever it was that they planned. And that really came from the voices of the students saying, hey, we matter, we want something still. What can we do even with the restrictions of COVID? So I think if anything, it's really taught them how to use that voice, how to advocate for what they want, and how to dig deep. And if you hit rock bottom, what do you need to do to kind of crawl back out of it? Hopefully for some of my perfectionists, they learned it's okay to fail because that's how you learn. So yeah, that's kind of what we have seen from a student services perspective overall. And we're so excited that they're going to get as close to a real graduation as possible, that they're going to actually get to walk across the stage at the crown. It may not be all together as a department, but that they will have a chance to get to be at least with half their class. So very excited about that, for sure.
That is key. That is vital. And that is a great way for you all to begin your next phase of life. So we are excited about that as well. Thank you, Ms. Newitt, for sharing that information about our graduating class. And so before we wrap up today, for our graduating seniors, is there anything that you would like to leave or share with the next graduating class? Kira, we'll start with you.
Not to sound cliche or anything, but enjoy every moment. You've got to get involved, create your memories, have fun, be open-minded, work hard, and definitely study. But most importantly, you have to be kind to one another. If I've learned anything my senior year through this pandemic, kindness matters.
Thank you, Kira. What about you, Cedric? What are you wanting to leave with the next graduating class?
I think that overall, adversity triumphs over everything. Just never give up. Always find a way to move past a mistake. If you make a mistake, learn from it, but never keep up. Keep moving forward, because progression is the only way that you're going to succeed in life. You know what I mean? And I think that you just have to remember that you have to just keep fighting for what you think is right.
Thank you, Cedric. That was very, very good information to leave with that next graduating class. And Raina, last but not least, what would you like to leave or share with the next graduating class?
I think it's important to remember that things will not always go as planned. Plans change, your expectations change, and things are always evolving, and you won't always have control over it. So it's okay if you didn't get into that school that you wanted to. It's okay if you're not going to be with your friends. It's okay, because things will get better, and you never know how things will turn out. And also remember that you define success, and success does not define you. So as long as you can look positively at what you've done and all the things you've accomplished, then you are successful. So please just remember that.
Thank you, Raina. Thank all three of you for joining us and putting a voice and a face to our class of 2021. Congratulations to you in all that you plan to do moving forward. You are resilient, and you are going to be a legacy for Cumberland County Schools and all you do. So thank you so much for joining us. Ms. Newitt, thank you for connecting us with our student voices. Families, thank you for joining us for our coffee conversations. Please join us the next time. Have a wonderful day. Hello and welcome to Coffee Conversations. Today we have with us Dr. Mindy Vickers, who is our Executive Director of School Support for high schools. It's a great season now. We are preparing for our high school graduations. So thank you, Dr. Vickers, for joining us.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity.
No problem. So we can go ahead and get started. This year, as we know, we are transitioning back to a more traditional graduation than we were able to hold in 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
So there's a more traditional format for 2021. However, we do realize that there are still some COVID protocols that will take place for this graduation, and it'll look a little different from our traditional graduation plan.
It will.
But it will take place at the Crown.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
Can you tell us a little bit about the graduation and what it will look like this year?
Yes, ma'am. So from a student perspective, it's probably pretty similar. Caps and gowns, everybody's in the arena. However, they're in smaller groups. The students, because of the safety protocols for COVID at the Crown, we cannot do more than 174 students per graduation. So our small choice schools will each have one ceremony. 7 of our comprehensive high schools will have 2 ceremonies. And then Jack Britt, Pine Forest, and Southview will all have 3 ceremonies because of their class size, their graduating class size. So when people come into the arena, it's going to look really different from a guest perspective. The chairs on the floor normally are really compact, and the kids are right next to each other. Now the chairs are all 6 feet apart in every direction. So it looks very, very different. We were there last Friday to make a video for the students because we don't get to practice at the Crown. So that's a different piece too for the students, for the graduates. Normally we practice at the Crown and they see it ahead of time and they have an idea of what to expect. So we put together a video for the kids, so that for the graduates, so they'll know kind of what to expect. For the guests, each graduate gets 4 tickets. Each set of 4 are assigned seats. So every guest has a ticket with an assigned seat. There's an assigned section, row, and seat that they will be required to utilize unless they need the access for the handicap seating. Then the Crown will accommodate that by changing out their ticket to give them a ticket for the handicap seating. One of the other biggest differences, people are going to be COVID screened before they come in the building. So temperatures are going to be taken. I believe they'll have the list of questions that you're probably used to seeing in some businesses right now, that they'll, need to verify that they don't have any symptoms. The other big piece that's a behind the scenes piece that people won't be able to see is the cleaning. So graduations will be a little bit shorter, obviously with fewer students. We are also, because of the spacing of the chairs on the arena floor, for example, we can't have any bands. We can't have the chorus. We can't have the ROTC kids come and post the colors. So there are things that are going to also make the ceremony shorter because there are pieces we just can't do this year. So after the ceremonies are over, another difference will be that we're going to ask the guests to stay seated until they are dismissed by sections through the microphone system, the sound system in the Crown. They'll dismiss people by sections to help keep people 6 feet apart, help maintain everyone's safety. And then once everybody's gone, the Crown needs about 2 hours to clean and use an electrostatic sprayer process to disinfect and clean all of the high touch areas, all the seats that were used, and all the seats that the graduates sat in, as well as all the seats the graduates sat in the expo center where we staged them.
Okay.
So there's some behind the scenes things that are very, very different, but all geared toward graduate, guest, and staff safety, which I think is, it's great that we're able to do it. We can't clean the same way, for example, in our football stadiums. We don't have the ability to do the electrostatic sprayer cleaning processes, for example. So it's a little bit different, but kind of the same.
Kind of the same. So you mentioned the potential for a school to have multiple graduation, let's say sessions.
Right.
And it's going to be based on the number of size students in the graduating class. Some of our larger high schools will have up to 3 possibly.
Yes, they do, in fact. So for example, E.E. Smith will have 2 graduations on the 22nd of May. One at 8 in the morning and then one at 12:10. So the other piece that's a little different is some of our times are kind of crazy, but it's based on those cleaning times. And then Douglas Byrd will follow E.E. Smith with 2 graduations at 4:20 and 8:30 p.m. And what we did was for example, E.E. Smith has, I think, just over 200 graduates. Instead of doing 174 in one ceremony and 30 in the other, we split it evenly. So they'll have about 100 kids in each graduation ceremony. So what we did was split every class either in half or in thirds for the big comprehensive schools so that the graduations are about the same size. And then the schedule published will show parents based on last names which ceremony their child would graduate in.
Okay. So when parents arrive, and you mentioned this before in your first question, they can expect screening?
Yes, ma'am. Another piece that's new this year for the Crown that they've never done before with us, but is typical for their other events. This year, guests can only bring in clear bags. That includes purses. So our recommendation is to leave everything in the car that you can leave in the car. You can bring a camera in, for example, a fancy camera, and maybe not the one on your phone, but you can't bring your camera bag. So that's a new piece. But as they come in, they'll be directed to maintain social distancing. There will be no concessions for sale. There will be no, I guess typically they sell gifts at the Crown. They sell like flowers and things for parents to buy for their graduates. None of those things will be available in the Crown this year just because of COVID and all the cleaning they would have to do if they sell all those things. Usually people can kind of walk around, sort of walk around the concourse and sort of wander a little bit. There's none of that. So they'll be directed to go pretty much once you come in, you're going to go straight to your seat. You're going to stay in your seat unless you're going to need to use the restroom. And then you would be expected to go back to your seat. So it's going to be a little different. It is a little restrictive, but again, all of that is for guest and staff safety. The last thing we want is for anybody to have issues because they came to watch their child graduate. So we're thankful that we've got the ability to keep the protocols in place with the Crown and their staff, ultimately handling the largest portion of that for us.
Okay. And each student receives 4 tickets.
Yes, ma'am.
So everyone that enters graduation will have to have a ticket.
Yes, ma'am. Everyone who is breathing or has a pulse, to include babies, even if they don't sit in a seat, has to have a ticket because the Crown has limits on capacity. And we have to maintain that capacity. Their capacity, the reason for the 4 tickets per graduate is because of the 6-foot distancing and the capacity limits they have. We know that people are going to have to make choices with their tickets. And, we are sorry. Every year people have to make choices with their tickets. This year it's a little tougher and we know that. And that's, ideally we could give more tickets, but it was equally as important for us to give the graduates a ceremony that looks much more like a traditional graduation ceremony because they have missed so much this year.
Right. And we appreciate the work that you and your team are putting forth to make sure that our students are able to walk across the stage this year and celebrate this Super Bowl of their K-12 education. How do you envision the graduation looking? We know that students will walk across the stage. They'll shake hands and pick up
They will not shake hands. They will get their diploma cover from their principal, but our recommendation is they, bump fists or, bump elbows, but we are not recommending that they shake hands because of the timing, and we need to keep the line moving so the students maintain that 6-foot distance. There's not time to sanitize hands in between students. So it's based on our conversations with Shirley Bolden in our system, our health services executive director, I think is her title. I hope I got that right. And Dr. Jennifer Green with the Cumberland County Health Department. That was the recommendation, that we do not shake hands again this year.
Okay, that definitely makes sense. But trying to put those protocols in place, keeping our students safe, keeping our families safe, keeping our staff safe.
Right.
The students have sacrificed a lot.
They have.
And this is a big deal. We are so excited about their ability to walk across the stage. And so we want everyone to walk into the Crown Coliseum and out of the Crown Coliseum in great spirits and able to celebrate.
Right. The other piece, we take pictures. Carlton Hubbard and Life Touch Photography take pictures at their respective schools for graduation at practice. Because we're not practicing at the Crown, those two Carlton Hubbard and Life Touch will have photographers at the ceremony, and they will be able to take pictures of graduates as they get their diploma cover. It won't be the typical sort of stand and pose picture. It's kind of, I guess, more like an action shot. But we do want to let parents know that they will be there, and there will be an opportunity for parents to get that sort of close-up picture from the stage view that, they can't really get because they're not on the stage. But we have set up for them, and they've come to the Crown so that they could look at the setup and sort of determine what's the best place to get the best pictures. So they will be doing that. That was a piece I forgot to mention.
Okay, so photography will definitely be there.
Right.
Photographer to make sure they capture the moment so that parents can have pictures later on down the road. It is going to be at the Crown.
It is.
Students will get 4 tickets. There will be some very serious safety protocols in place to make sure that all schools' graduations will be.
And it will be professionally live streamed as it normally is. Typically everybody who's in the crown, it is live streamed while it's, obviously while it's happening. That will be for all 29 ceremonies that are between the 21st of May and the 28th of May. And then Reed Ross is actually on June 14th. So that one would also be live streamed, which should help for the folks who aren't able to have a ticket. They will be able to watch it live and see the process and, sort of have that stage view based on where they set the cameras up. So that'll help hopefully for some of those folks who aren't able to have tickets. And of course, for our military parents who are deployed overseas, unable to be here, other family members from out of state that maybe don't want to travel, given, we are still in the middle of a pandemic, hopefully coming out the end of it. But the live stream will help give access to those folks who can't come and see it in person.
Okay. So there are a lot of things that will be similar, even with the differences. So we appreciate that. Dr. Vickers, is there anything else that you want to share about the graduation for families for the class of 2021?
Just that we're so excited that we have the opportunity to give this to the graduates. We know that they have given up a lot this year. They've missed some milestones that are typical in high school. And because, last year, I think the ceremonies that we did were very nice and very personalized, and lots of people had great things to say about that process. It wasn't the same. And so we're just excited that this year we're able to give the graduates more of a traditional ceremony. It's smaller, a little smaller, but it is more of a traditional ceremony. And I think that I'm hoping that they're, just really going to be excited and enjoy it, and just kind of soak it all in as a milestone that they got to have, even though we're, like I said, hopefully on the tail end of a pandemic. Again, this year, we will give all graduates a resilience cord. So it'll be a blue and orange graduation cord that they'll wear on top of their regalia with any other cords they may have, just to sort of signify that we understand how much they've gone through and how much they've given up.
Thank you, Dr. Vickers. We appreciate you sharing that. Our families have worked hard and our students have worked hard to get to this moment. And so we are going to celebrate them for getting to this moment, for crossing the stage, for the class of 2021. Congratulations to you. Dr. Vickers, we're going to let you go because we know that you are slammed in full graduation mode and it's a busy time.
It is.
Thank you for you and your team for your hard work. Thank you, families, for joining us for our coffee conversations with Dr. Mindy Vickers, our Executive Director of School Supports for our high schools. Congratulations to the class of 2021, and we will see you at the Crown. Thank you
so much.
Have a great one.